so I don't know if I.
Okay, the room is live.
Something to.
The room is live.
Yep.
Good evening and welcome to the Board of Commissioners October the 4th special meeting. I am Dr. Althea Riddick, 2023 Chair of the Board. Tonight I'm joined by Commissioner Jonathan Craddock, Vice Chair, Commissioner Linda Hoffler, Commissioner Brian Roundtree, Commissioner Emily Truman, County Manager Scott Sauer, and Clerk to the Board, Jalitha Chestnut. Commissioner Craddock will lead us in the invocation and pledge of allegiance.
Let us pray. Dear Heavenly Father God, we come to you tonight, first of all, to give you thanks. Thank you for this day that you have made, and let us rejoice and be glad in it. Father God, we come to honor you tonight and ask you to settle down with us tonight as we conduct your business and county business. We ask you to help us make all the right decisions for the best of your word, your county, and for the best of our citizens. We ask all these things in your name, the name above all names, our Lord and Savior, Jesus Christ. Amen.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
I request a motion to approve the agenda.
So moved.
Okay.
Been properly moved in second. All in favor?
Aye.
Motion carried. Old business broadband update, Mr. Bright.
Good evening, Dr. Riddick, board members, Mr. County Manager. I will say to start with, it's neat to look. We will probably be 97% 1 gig available in the county and within a couple months. I don't think there's any other county anywhere around that's going to be in as good a shape as we are, especially at this point. So that's a good thing. I'll go through a couple of things I have. I'll start with 5. They sent their little letter out saying they were going to be ready a couple of days ago. Well, they run into some problems, nothing big, just pole change outs and different things and getting contractors here and getting the work done. But they are finishing up in 2 other locations, and they're going, within a week or so, you'll see a whole lot more working faster to get things done. They have a timeline, but I'm not going to go there right now on that. So Spectrum, I haven't seen too many of their contractors working. I don't know what their status is. I reached out to them and I haven't heard back yet. But I know there's a couple of places that they have to do some changing with poles and raise some fibers up and do some plowing. As far as the pole change outs, it looks like Dominion so far has changed out about 55 poles to give us the height that we need in places. Well, some of those are going across fields and they haven't replaced them yet. FIBE has decided, instead of waiting for all the crops to be in, they're just going to go around and plow it. And Spectrum made the same decision too on some of them, it looks like now, from what I can find out. We've had our share of cuts, water mains, fiber optic cables, phone lines to houses. Some of them have not been marked or not marked accurate, and not a whole lot you can do about that. There's a little leeway in a foot or 2 either side of what the mark is, but I think the water main here in Gatesville they cut the other day was a whole lot more than a foot difference. So, things happen. Traffic, that's still been, the sheriff's been calling me, dispatchers called me, and some different citizens have about not using cones, blocking the road, this sort of thing. On 158, several times I have politely asked them to stop their work until they get the cones and get off the road, and they did. One crew didn't want to do what they were asked to do, And I took a picture and sent it to 5 bosses, and the next day they no longer worked here. And mainly on the main roads. I figured up 2 weeks ago, we had as many as 150 contractors digging little gopher holes all over the side of the road and wherever. And it's almost impossible to keep up with that. Secondary roads, straight stretches, I wasn't quite as bad on them, but the main thoroughfares where people like to drive fast and not pay attention with curvy roads, I've been called some names, I can say that for them, but anyway, we haven't had anybody get whacked yet. Another issue we're running into is stuff that's being cut. Repair time for Brightspeed is less than desirable. I went to a customer's house today. He's been 13 days without his telephone. I have talked to a supervisor in the region, and so I don't know if that'll make anything good or not, but we had other plans. We might have to take the next route on those plans as far as letting Brightspeed know that, if he wants some customers, they're going to have to get their pots fixed before they can pick them up as a fiber customer maybe later on. They're just hurting themselves. I would bring it to the attention of those as you start to get flyers in the mail about service and what they're offering, read the fine print. And if your neighbors ask, read the fine print, because it's close with a few dollars here and there, but some of these packages that they're offering, if it's bead, Harper, and one more there, they have to guarantee those pricings for 5 years. And it looks like some of the flyers I've gotten in the mail, it's a 1-year guarantee at the introductory price. So if somebody asks you, be sure to, read the fine print on that and get what you think you need at your house. It's one of those things that everybody has to make their decision. And before it's all said and done, within 2 years, you'll have 3 companies to choose from instead of 2. And so just look carefully and it's coming up within 2 years or sooner. Eventually, as the fiber networks get built, POTS, which is plain old telephone service, will be a thing of the past. So if you know somebody, an elderly person that has lifelines and this sort of thing, Purdue chicken houses that have alarm circuits, we need to make sure they understand that those POTS lines might be gone within 2 to 5 years or sooner. North Carolina has not had a drop dead date set yet. I know some states have. One state, 2025, is drop dead, but they're pretty well covered by fiber. So that's something, some of your old phones might not work in the house if you switch to the fiber. You can have your telephone number ported to your fiber carrier, whoever you've got, so you'll be able to do that, but some of the older stuff probably won't work, alarm circuits and that sort of thing. You might have to do some different wiring. So that's something we need to let everybody know that's a thing coming up real soon. Well, not real soon, but as all this gets finished and done. I have identified a few places that have not been touched yet, but until I ride and look at them, that might be some cab money or whatever later on down the road for us. And I'm going to go physically look at all those and make sure that the maps, I'm using 3 different maps from the providers plus the FCC in North Carolina. And I did reach out to the Albemarle Firemen's Association, all their members, and sent them each one emails about doing a speed test at their house and going in and logging it and making sure the stuff is right. And same way with our fire chiefs here in the county, their fire stations, now that they've been bumped up a little bit higher and is an anchor institution. So all the fire stations, I guess they've done it. I know a couple that have. And every fire chief in our area up here for 13 counties has gotten a letter too from me about doing a speed test at their stations and trying to get their members to do it. So we know what the coverage is instead of these maps that the FCC has now that we know are wrong, and the state. If there's any questions you have for me tonight,
Like if you have a security system for your home, that you need to check because it comes.
you need to
through.
check.
Okay.
If you port your number, the number will be there, but what the interface is with the electronics, it might be something different.
Hadn't thought about that.
That would be any lifeline, burglar alarm, anything you have. Some of them use cell phones now as a backup, but they need to check with their vendor and make sure that what they have in the house is going to work. And then when it does change later on, it shouldn't affect our 911 system at all. The addresses will be there. It'll still be called, and it'll just be voice over IP, so to speak, versus a dedicated phone line. And I don't know how many providers here in Gates County still use a dedicated line to the 911 center, but it's probably not that many like it was in the past.
I know I've spoken to you before about CAB, and I shared that with Commissioner Craddock. The next funding level is called CAB. You mentioned that. What I've asked Mr. Bright to do is to use those maps and try to figure out where the unmet needs are, because that's what that funding is for. And so as soon as he can check the maps and the addresses, make sure that the maps are accurate. We do not want to apply for grant money that's specific to something, and then we can't meet that need.
Yeah, and most of these on the maps appear to be the last mile, which is the furthest distance out.
That would be B.
Yeah.
That'd be all these acronyms. B is the final
one.
the final funding that we have an opportunity to. So if we don't need the funding for CAB, then we have funding for B. But I think we're going to probably need a little bit of BEAD money before those, I call them outliers, those people farthest away from the access.
And there's not as many as I thought it was. Look, I'm trying to do satellite imagery, our GIS, and combine them all. And we're pretty good right now. I was going to say we're probably 97%. And I do know because of the take of the customers, right now they've signed up. The providers have had to build a more robust backbone for their transports to the POP sites, and they're working on that. So anybody that's on fiber right now, from 11:30, 12 to about 3 in the morning, they might have interruptions.
I don't.
Mr. County Manager, we've talked about this before, but since Erna's here in person tonight, there is a need for our IT person and the school system IT person and anyone else on that committee that you met about, 7 months ago?
Yeah, about 7, we met one time.
Yeah, to sit down and talk about local government and the school system and those connectivities, because see, this is an opportunity that we need to know who's where as far as those connections and what's best for the county.
Probably as a lot of them now have fiber in their schools and different places, but some of them still have copper as well integrated in their system. So it's time now while they're putting the fiber in to look and even think about consolidating everything instead of school system paying their phones for each one is a big group coming in county-wide. You can probably save some money for everybody on their budgets. So that's something that, instead of just a Metro Ethernet, a wide area Metro Ethernet, so to speak, with fiber, and get all the phones numbers and the data that they need combined together. And it could be a substantial savings if it works out right.
Okay.
And I think you've already identified the anchor institutions in Gates
Yes.
County.
I've sent
Sent to the county manager.
the county manager's got a list of it. One or two I might not be exactly right on, but I couldn't find the right person at the time to do that. Especially with the school bus garage. I don't know if they have fiber there already or not, but I know SIP's and MCNC's fiber goes by there. So I don't know if they're connected or not. And I think fiber was put up here as of this building this past week. So, and across the street.
Across the street, okay.
So it's growing more.
Finally, I just want to, on behalf of the board, and y'all can chime in, just thank Erna Bright. He's done more than what he was asked to do as far as making sure that Gates County, not only Gates County, the surrounding counties, he rides to other counties, and he has created a model for the other counties to ensure that what those maps are showing is actually accurate. He's also, you heard him say about the firefighter association, he's making sure that they understand about what they need to do, sending off letters. He's driven all over the place. And he's become a person that they go to at the state level. Yes, you are. Sometimes they call me on that. I didn't say it. Erna did. Call Erna. But I appreciate, on behalf of the board, all the work you are doing to ensure that this transformation that's happened with broadband. He saved us money because we know what's going on, and we don't apply, or we just sit back and wait. He says, wait, we wait. And next thing I know,
It's really, I'd have never thought 3 or 4 years ago that we'd be in the position today that we are. It's exciting to me.
But we thank you, we really do. Okay. Go get them.
I am.
It's unbelievable that we're going to be 97% coverage.
That's what it's looking like. Trying to run it's, like I said, there's a few places that are out there off the beaten path, but we're going to work on them too.
Thank you,
I
Ernie.
do appreciate it.
Okay.
Thank you, Mr. Brett.
At your desk, you have an application for a committee, and it's, I'm going to read this from Albemarle Commission. It says, Dear, they sent it to the board clerk. The Albemarle Commission Area Agency on Aging is in need of 2 appointed representatives on our Regional Advisory Committee. The RAC meets quarterly to give directions and guidance to the AAA's efforts in serving the senior population in Gates County. The primary purpose of this council is to serve as advocates for older adults, their caregivers, and their families living within the service area of the Albemarle Commission as specified by the Older American Act. This group is primarily responsible for providing guidance and input in our 4-year area plan to serve older adults in Northeast North Carolina. As we begin evaluating needs for our new 4-year plan, having representation from Gates County is essential. Appointment length to this council can vary based on the county preference, but should be no less than 2-year term. And this was sent by Bradley Yates, Administrative Assistant, Albemarle Commission Area Agency on Aging. I did call and talk with Bradley, and I asked, was it too late? Because we've been trying to get people to fill out the application so we could appoint someone. Miss, you have before you one person, Carrie Gibson. You have her application there. She lives in Sunbury. And when I spoke with her, she says, well, she's at the community center religiously walking and all the activities they do. And
Congregate meals and all.
yeah, congregate meals, Meals on Wheels. I've seen her in the board meetings. I think she sits to my left in the middle of the seats there. So she was very excited to represent. We need 2. I'm still trying to get another person to serve. The 2 people we had before retired, so it left it vacant. So now we want to have representation on this, so when they start traveling and writing their plan and making plans and asking for grant money or for senior citizens, we have someone at the table. So that's the application, and I'll give you a little time to read over it. And then I'm going to ask for a motion. If it approved, then we have to send a letter to Albemarle Commission. The clerk will do that, saying that we have appointed that person, so she's official. And then she will also receive a letter of the appointment.
And what is his term of office?
2 years. And while you're thinking, if you know of someone else that's a senior citizen that would like to please do share. Just have them contact the board clerk, and she'll get them an application to fill out, but we need 2 people.
I make a motion that we approve Carrie Gibson for a 2-year term for the aging.
I second that motion.
Been motion and second. All in favor? Aye. Ayes have it. Board clerk will fill out the paperwork and send that in, and plus contact Ms. Gibson of this website. And again, if you have anyone else or someone else that would like to, and the way I understand it, it's not a lot of meetings they have to go to, and whatever they have to travel somewhere, they pay for it, so it's not any cost on us to make sure they can get there. So you can check that box. Okay. Resolution supporting Annie W. Holland, historical marker. And I will read this. That's in your packet as well. Resolution supporting Annie W. Holland, historical marker. Whereas Annie Wealthy Holland was born in Isle of Wight, Virginia in 1871, attended Hampton Institute in Hampton, Virginia, received her teaching certification from the Normal Industrial Institute in Petersburg, Virginia, and taught for nearly a decade in the state. And whereas in 1911, Mrs. Holland was hired at the Gates Institute in Sunbury, North Carolina, to work as the county's rural school supervisor, overseeing industrial education in 22 schools. And whereas in 1915, Annie Wealthy Holland worked in Gates County, was recognized when she was appointed state home demonstration agent in North Carolina, a position that made her the state supervisor of teachers through the Jeans Fund, a $1 million private endowment that supported education and vocational programs for Black Americans in rural counties. And whereas Mrs. Holland, in her role as state supervisor of Jeans teachers, held the highest confidence of county superintendents as she traveled to multiple counties to conduct meetings, teach industrial education, and organize fund drives, reading circles, clubs, and agricultural cooperatives. And whereas in 1921, the North Carolina General Assembly passed legislation to establish the Negro Division of Education, and Mrs. Holland's job title changed to State Supervisor of Negro Elementary Schools. And whereas in 1927, the North Carolina Congress of Colored Parents and Teachers was organized under the leadership of Mrs. Holland, and in 1928 held its first meeting at Shaw University, where she was elected president, a position she held until her passing. And whereas Annie Wealthy Holland is remembered as a prominent North Carolina industrial teacher, leader, advocate, and spokesperson for Black education. And now therefore be it resolved that the Gates County Board of Commissioners of Gates, North Carolina hereby states their support for the placement of the historical marker in Gates County honoring the late Annie Wealthy Holland. Duly adopted this the 4th day of October 2023. I ask for a motion of approval.
So moved.
Second.
It's been properly moved and second. All in favor? Ayes have it.
And I believe this is time sensitive. The State Board for Historic Markers is meeting on October 15th. We need to get the letter up there with the application.
Okay, we'll do that before I leave tonight. I think the board clerk has it ready to go. Okay, thank you. Ms. Hoffa contacted me, and I referred her to the county manager, and they got it together, so that's why we're doing this. And I think the Board of Education is also doing the resolutions. It's just not the county commissioners.
And also the town of Gatesville.
Town of Gatesville, so we're all working together to get this done.
And Mrs. Holland, what she did here with T.S. Cooper became the model that she used across the state. And to get a state-sponsored historic marker, you had to have a state, I mean, it's not just doing something in one locality. You had to have a state-wide, I don't know what the word would be, presence. So,
Thank you for that background. It's a picture in here, too. I saw the picture that they have in the packet if you want to take a look at. Okay.
she had a really interesting life.
Next, we have our county manager's report and updates.
Thank you, Madam Chair. 2 weeks ago, we all had our fingers crossed that the state budget would hold, and it has. And as has been widely reported, the appropriation for Gates County on the infrastructure category is $10,145,000, which is a tremendous offset to the board's capital improvement plan that was adopted 2 weeks ago that was $13.1 million. So this will help the board move expeditiously toward meeting some very key goals. In a nutshell, the funding provides a foundation for the board's vision to serve both current residents and businesses of Gates County, but will also enhance the opportunity to assist business expansion and much-needed residential development. Guiding the Board of Commissioners' infrastructure planning are 2 engineering studies for the county's water and wastewater systems, and they are both part of the grant applications that were approved to be submitted to DEQ at your last meeting. There's one specifically focused on the water system and one on the wastewater system. Given the age and deteriorating condition of the county's infrastructure, the Board of Commissioners and Public Utilities Director Brad Arnold will be engaging this process to conduct a hydraulic study of the county's 400 miles of water lines. Additionally, the study will entail a physical inventory of all control valves, interconnections, and related components with GPS identification for each location. The county's water system was constructed in the 1980s and was merged with the town of Gatesville's water system, which was constructed in the 1970s, more than 50 years old. There is currently only one interconnect between these 2 original systems, and it's just north of town on Highway 87. The capital improvement plan that the board recently includes water line extensions into many underserved areas for a total of 24,375 linear feet, a new well with a pumping capacity of 500 gallons per minute, and a directional bore 1,800 linear feet under Bennett's Creek. This will allow the county to install a second interconnect to join the 2 systems. And with this interconnect on the county's south end, the water system will eliminate 2 dead ends that we presently experience and also improve water quality and system hydraulics. The estimated cost for the total project described above is $2.9 million. And the county's highest infrastructure improvement project is the replacement of the 150,000-gallon elevated water tank in Gatesville at a cost of just over $1.5 million. 2 weeks from today, on the 18th of October, prior to the board's meeting, the Board of Commissioners is going to meet and tour the Ashton Lewis Lumber Company facility. Brad Arnold set up a meeting earlier this week with Connor Good, who is the local manager of the facility, and a representative from the ownership, Michael Lancaster. And they are very eager to speak with the board about their potential for growth, their impact in the market all across North Carolina, within the region, and globally. But their one technical hurdle is to obtain the necessary liability insurance for fire protection, which heretofore has been impossible due to the county's inability to provide adequate pressure or volume to meet their needs. So with the soon-to-be available funding through these state appropriations, with the right technical review, with the most prudent planning, I think we have an opportunity to really see their business benefit from your vision and efforts. So we will meet at 3:30 Wednesday the 18th, prior to our board meeting, for a full facility tour and really a business plan overview from their leadership. And we'll probably pick up a few historical gems too. They've apparently got 1 or 2 employees that have been there 51 years and really know the history of the business there. So they are eager to meet with you, and I'm glad that you've all been able to set aside some extra time for that. And I think it's important for the minutes to reflect too that as Brad reported last week, the contract for the 4,600 water meters is underway. Mobilization will begin soon, and we hope that by the 1st of May to have all of those radio read meters replaced. The second engineering study is going to focus on our wastewater treatment capacity, and specifically the land application field where we need to have a soil remediation study. The county's wastewater treatment plant is currently rated for 15,000 gallons a day. When it was built originally in 1989, it was rated for 25,000 gallons a day. But the state, based on its inspections, downgraded the facility in roughly 2012 due to effluent runoff from the spray application field. They had no choice but to ratchet us down on our permit. So this project has been estimated by the engineers to be $2.3 million. Currently, the wastewater treatment facility only provides for collection, transmission, and treatment for 2 residential customers and 7 non-residential customers, including 2 schools and commercial businesses and some county offices. It's an exciting time, and the work of Senator Hannig and Representative Bill Ward has really come to fruition, and hopefully this will take off. I want to say, for Erna Bright's benefit, he really has been an excellent sounding board for me, as we discussed a little bit last meeting. I've had occasion to talk with some residents that have had their landlines cut or their neighbors' landlines cut, and it really is a nightmare to work through the call-in trouble lines to get these lines reestablished. And Erna's been a big ally in that fight, and I believe he shared with us at one of the recent meetings, because of his vocal advocacy on behalf of Gates County, I believe he's on the naughty list with the Department of Transportation, and I've received a call from the Secretary's of DOT's office about that. But truly, the voices in Gates County are being heard. I don't know that we have all the issues resolved, but my hat's off to his work. And finally, I think I'd like to close and suggest that the board allows some of my time to be taken by Sheriff Campbell to give us an update. His folks have had a busy 24 hours, and it may still be busy. I don't know.
Sheriff Campbell?
Come to speak with you guys. I have been fighting an upper respiratory thing for several days. I'm better now, and I'm glad it was a little bit better after the episode that we had yesterday. And it was right at your back door. But,
I saw you.
But I made sure they won't go get by me. So this started up at around the China King, and it immediately turned into a high-speed chase. And we went by the EMS building at around 120 mile an hour. So the individuals crashed the vehicle. Deputy right on top of him. So he gets there. Not one gets out, not two gets out. We have 4 jump and run. I have 1 deputy there trying to deal with 4 individuals that are hell-bent on getting away. So he ran one of them down. The other 2 continued to run, and we caught them maybe hour and a half, 2 hours later. Funny thing had happened, Wavy TV10 called me. I'm standing in the middle of the woods with a pump shotgun. My phone rings. I said, dude, I don't have time for this. I get my phone back in my pocket, and the two individuals were standing 20 yards from me. That's how close they got to me. So I ordered them on the ground. One immediately complied. The other decided he wanted to run a little bit more. So I thought about one. I'm not as fast as I used to be, but I'm as fast as I need to be. I think. So ran them right on out to the road. We took them into custody right there. These guys weren't from around here. There are two from New York, one from Florida. The other one, I don't know where he's from. We haven't caught him yet. He's still on the run. But I can promise you, he would probably have rather been caught than spent the night out there in the woods last night. The other two probably wouldn't have looked any worse if I had drug them through the biggest briar patch in this county, because they were scratched from head to toe. But dangerous situation. The deputy on the phone, on the radio screaming, basically. So I'm at home. I'm not feeling that good, but I know I've got to go, and I'm on the radio hollering for everybody to come. So we ended up with about 20 people out there, really quick. So State Park, State Highway Patrol, we had 2 canines come over from Hereford County and Hoskin PD. So they all jumped in and helped. But rough situation, and then right on the tail end of that, we had another tragedy that I had to send to my investigators to, right on the tail end of that. And then right on the tail end of that, an assault with a deadly weapon in another part of the county. So it was boom, boom, boom the whole afternoon. So my guys were spent. I had one last night. That deputy that actually got there and was in the chase said he had nightmares last night. So tough day. It worked out. None of my guys were hurt. We didn't hurt any of these guys. So when we brought them down to the office, they wanted to know where the paperwork was for them to sign and leave. Like, what you talking about? Well, in New York, we sign a paper and we walk out. I said, well, guess what? You're not in New York anymore. So you go to see the magistrate, you get a bond. Well, what's that? So something all new to them. So I'm pretty sure they're probably back on their way to New York if they're not already back. So anyway, tragic situation. They could have killed a bunch of folks. They could have killed my deputy. So anyway, busy day. We all survived. So anyway, the only other little thing I'd like to say, the sheriff's office has given you guys a proposal several months ago, and we're waiting on the sales tax revenue to make a decision on where we go from there. So I'm just asking, please don't forget us. We cannot replace, I won't live long enough to ever replace what I've got working for you. Won't happen. It will not happen. I've got the best that I can possibly have working for us. And trying to replace them, it just won't happen. We need to keep what we got here. Good bunch of guys and girls. And they love working here. So, anyway, thank you.
Thank
and
you.
I had your back.
I got you. I saw you.
Sure. I know I spoke to you on the phone and I asked you about the vehicles and all that stuff. Is there anything we can do to reach out to help the sheriff to see where we're at on our vehicles we're supposed to get?
I'm genuinely concerned at this point.
Yeah.
Because we haven't heard anything in over 3 weeks. I thought we were promised like 3 weeks ago we'd had the first 3.
Yeah.
And the other 5 had been ordered and were kind of sort of on the way. We've heard nothing. Nothing.
I didn't know if we could help them reach out.
I don't know where, what the
We
whole.
can certainly flag that
Because I
down.
think we've got the lighting and some of the stuff, equipment ready to go. As soon
I
as we
know
get the
some of our
vehicles.
vehicles are down and,
Okay.
okay.
So, good enough. Thank you.
Count it down.
Thank you.
Thank you. All right. Have any updates, Mr. Commissioner Roundtree?
Yes, Chair, I have an update. Earlier in the year, the spring, one of our constituents, Gloria W. Ballard, had a concern concerning the intersection of Gate School Road
and also Water Plant Road. As you may know, there have been a lot of fatalities and injuries and incidents at this intersection. So I talked with the Department of Transportation, asked them to do a study, evaluate the intersection, and perhaps come up with a resolution, with a solution that would protect our citizens' safety. I was glad to say this past week, at the intersection, a four-way stop have been provided for that intersection, along with flag and signage to let people know that a four-way stop is approaching. And also rumble strips was also implemented at the four-way stop. So now that intersection is safe, and the intersection have all the indicators to let you know that a four-way stop is approaching. So I'm glad to say that Gates County citizens' driving experience for the intersection will be safer. Thank you.
Thank you. Commissioner Craddock, you have anything?
I don't really have any updates. I just want to thank the ones that came out tonight. Thank the extension agency across the road for providing a nice meal for us tonight. And, you know, sharing with some of the things they do, you don't realize everything that everybody does until you have time to sit down and fellowship with them. And it's real, it's heartwarming, everything they do for the kids and the citizens. And it's the stuff that you don't even realize is what's happening behind the scenes. We got big things coming. You know, Mr. Ward and Hannock really looked out for us, did the pushing they need to. I'm looking forward to meeting with them soon. And Gates County is on the map.
Yes, it is.
It's on the map. Hadn't been there in a long time, so I'm just excited, really excited about it. So.
Okay.
I think a lot of good things are happening in the county. I think we made out well with the budget, not only for us. I just know that the Sheriff's Department got some additional funding, so did the schools. So very pleased with that. Yes, we are on the map. And a lot of good things coming out of with this amount of money we're getting for our water and wastewater, that we can get that, because we were on the distress list. And so we need to make those corrections and repairs, and certainly that takes a burden off of our taxpayers here. I'm certainly thankful for the county extension. They had a wonderful meal, and then they did show us what they did. They have a lot of different aspects to extension, from teaching our younger people about farming and crops and food to the table, and for new crops being produced by our farmers to keep them, all sources of revenue for them. So that is very important. And, you know, just so many good things are happening. I am the PGC. We're looking into some changes there. We've got to make some decisions about the trash pickup and all, but I think we're going to have some good outcomes there as well. Commissioner Craddock and I serve on that, and looks like that's going to all work out well.
It will.
Okay. Mr. Truman?
Again, adding on, just thankful for the extension office, the dinner, but also the education. Had my husband ask me what that new crop was behind the county. I have no idea about crops, so knowing I can go back and say it's a sesame plant was educational there. So thankful for them, and thankful for our county manager, and these interactions with the different agencies in the community are something that I haven't noticed before happening in this manner, and I think it's great that you're interacting with the different businesses and making those connections for us. So I'm very appreciative for you.
Thank you.
Yes, sir.
In closing, I want to thank also publicly the cooperative extension across the street for dinner and the education. I mean, I learned a lot about sesame, growing sesame in the county and other things. Also, the Gateway Community Health Center and the high school, public school, partnered on a grant opportunity with Roanoke, I think it's Roanoke Chowan Foundation, and they were awarded $81,000. And that will be used to help out with the mobile lab going to the high school and serving those students there and the faculty and the parents if they so choose. So I'm excited about that collaboration that's happening right here in Gates County. So things are looking up in Gates County, and you'll hear more about that. We do have a doctor in the county. I think that's in the paper last week. And so you look at the newspaper, you'll see things just happening all around us, and we're very appreciative. I am also appreciative of not only this board, how you've come together and looking forward, looking to the future and trying to make sure that the future is bright, but also addressing the current needs that we have in this county. We don't forget our residents, our citizens, our businesses that we have right now. That's evident by what we're getting ready to hopefully partner with Ashton Lewis and others with infrastructure needs that we can provide. And there are some other things in our vision that we're going to be doing. And I especially say Scott Sauer and the team he's put together around him. I see Warren. He was here. He's still here. He's going to sleep. Hey, Warren. Hiding behind William Robinson and Scott Pierce probably gone home by now.
He's back there.
Oh, Scott, you hiding behind it. Okay. And the finance staff and all the staff in the county, the interim tax administrator and Billy Tutwiler, who's the interim EM. I mean, it's like it's coming together. We're working as a team now, and I'm appreciative. I'm appreciative of the sheriff. You know, yeah, he was down my way. You know, I saw your people up that lane. And I ain't who you were chasing. I knew you were chasing somebody. But he and his guys and gals are doing really good work. And I was with Stormy Butts at a meeting this morning, and he was giving an update at Gates Partnership for Health. So it seems to be coalescing around positive things now. And we just want to, we're going to hit some speed bumps, always speed bumps somewhere. But we'll get through it. But thank everyone for what's happened with this budget, this allocation, this appropriations that we have. This shows God's favor. And with that, I ask for a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
We are adjourned.
Y'all have a good evening.
You as well.